What's up, everybody? It's Gabriel, and I'm back again. Today, we're going to be talking about... What are we talking about? I don't even know. Where's the video at? Oh, here it is. So, we're going to be talking about this bride who disagrees with the wedding vows. We're going to see about that. And I know I haven't posted in a while, and I'm going to be more consistent with my posting. I got to get my subscribers up. Got to get my watch hours up so I can start making a little bit more money. But... the Lord's even given me a formula on how to post and when to post. So I'm going to do my best to follow that formula. Today, we have this video with this young bride who disagrees with the wedding vows and does not want to obey her husband. So let's see what it is about. Here we go.
For better.
For better.
For worse.
For worse.
For richer.
For richer.
For poor.
For poorer.
We hit that snag about 20 times in counseling. Bria made it very clear to Jonathan, you cannot be broke. In sickness.
In sickness.
And in health.
And in health.
To love.
To love.
Cherish.
Cherish.
And to obey.
We didn't talk about that one in counseling.
We did talk about that in counseling. Yes, we did. So you want me to repeat that again? You want to just keep going?
I think we can keep going.
All right.
You know, let's start with the first part, the poor part, okay? Women have made it very apparent that they would prefer a man who is wealthy, who makes a decent amount of money. That's understandable. And you know what? I don't even really have a problem with a woman desiring for her man to provide for her. Okay? That's part of your job as a husband, is to provide. Okay? You read the word, I was talking to my friend the other day, and she mentioned that, that there was not a specific verse or so she thought that said that a man had to provide for his wife. And she asked me, why do I want to provide for my wife? And eventually she talked to her pastor. Her pastor gave her a scripture. I believe it was in 2 Timothy that talks about, if a man doesn't provide for his family, leave an inheritance or something like that. I'm paraphrasing terribly, but doesn't leave an inheritance or provide for his family, then it's not good. But the thing that I wanted to talk about was that the reason that I want to provide for my wife is because my job as a husband is to love my wife. That's my job. That's what the Bible tells me to do in Ephesians. Love your wife. Okay? What is love? Corinthians tells us about love. Love is patient, love is kind, and so on and so forth. But it says that love always protects, okay? My job as a husband is to protect my wife, protect my family, okay? Part of protection is provision. So if I'm protecting my wife properly, that means that I'm also providing for her. So if I'm not providing for my wife, I'm not protecting my wife. If I'm not protecting my wife, then I'm not loving my wife. So I don't have a problem with a woman saying that she wants her husband to provide. The problem I have is that these vows specifically say for richer or for poorer, meaning that whatever comes in life, the highs, you may have financial highs or you may have financial lows. Either way, you're going to stick by your husband. Now, if you want to say that, if your husband is just refusing to provide or not making an effort to provide, then that's a different story. But if you're just making the assumption that if he's not making a certain amount of money, then I don't want to be married to him, well, now you see, this is an issue that we have to have. And, clearly she said that that's something that they talked about in counseling, which means it's very important to her that her husband, or this guy that she's marrying, is financially stable. But the poorer part is the part that would strike me. It's like, okay, so are you only going to stay with me if I'm making a certain amount of money? What if something happens? What if life happens? Because life does happen. Are you going to leave? Are you going to stop respecting me? Are you going to stop being my wife? Are you going to think less of me if I'm not making enough money? Now, me personally, I was always under the assumption that, I wanted to get married after I had everything together financially. That's what I wanted. But the Lord started to deal with me and letting me know, like, sometimes you have to build things together. You can build wealth together, okay? A lot of our parents and our parents' parents, when they got married, they were certainly not wealthy, okay? They didn't have millions of dollars, but they got married because they loved each other and they stuck it out, for most people who did, regardless of if they were making millions of dollars or they weren't, but they built something together. So again, I don't have the biggest problem with her, if she's making it clear that, she wants her husband to provide. I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is that if you're making the assumption that you're not going to stick by your husband unless he's making a good amount of money, that I have a problem with. I don't think that's true love. I don't think that's you truly being there, truly being a helpmeet for your husband. Now, the second part of this, the obey part. The obey part is the part that many people have a problem with. Why? Because a lot of times when people think of obey, they relate it to a slave and a master. That's how they relate the word obeying, obedience, or, a child to a parent. That's how a lot of people relate the word obey. So in this instance, she's not thinking of it in the form of submitting to my husband. She's thinking of it in the form of, he is not going to get a chance to tell me what to do. He's going to try to be my boss, and I'm just supposed to be his slave, or he's supposed to be my master, and I'm supposed to wait on him hand and foot and do whatever he says. No, that's not what it's talking about when it's saying that to obey your husband. What it's really talking about is, you see, in the Bible, obedience is in free will, okay? If God really wanted you to just do whatever he said to do and never question him, he would not have given you free will, okay? There is a difference between obedience without free will and obedience with free will. Obedience with the choice of free will means more than to just do whatever your master tells you to do and you don't have a choice not to. This is why God has given us free will. Yes, he wants you to listen to him. Yes, he wants you to obey him, but he wants you to do it even though you have the choice not to. Why? Because that's love. And in a marriage, when it's talking about obedience, it's talking about respecting the leadership of your husband, respecting the leadership, respecting the headship of your husband. It's not saying that you have to do every single thing that he tells you to do. The Bible doesn't even expect you to do that, okay? The Bible does not expect a wife, and it talks about these things about, if a husband is doing things that are detrimental to your faith or life-threatening, obviously God doesn't want you to be obedient to that. But he wants you to be obedient and submissive to a man of God who's worth submitting to, okay? And I would assume that if you're on this altar and you're about to marry this man, it is because you think he is worth submitting to, meaning that you think he's worth obeying in the form of leadership. Okay, you have a job, you have a boss, you do what your boss tells you to do. You have a choice not to, and there are consequences for that. But ultimately, you do what your boss asks you to do. And you don't think of it in the mindset of, I am a slave. No, this is an employee and employer relationship. But in a marriage, you're not an employee and you're not an employer, okay? It's a husband, it's a wife. You have your own voice. You can speak up. But ultimately, when it says obedience, it's talking about respecting the headship of the husband. And she says that they didn't talk about that in counseling. The pastor says otherwise. But if this is a problem that you're going to have and you don't have a clear understanding of what obedience and submission is as a wife, then maybe we need to talk about some things. Okay, maybe we need to have another conversation about how this is going to work, okay? Because I think this is a problem that a lot of women have. A lot of women have a problem with the word submission because they relate it to slave and master instead of relating it to leader. Leader. That's what the husband's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the leader. This is how God ordained it. So if you are, and again, I'm a Christian, okay? This is a Christian page. So I'm always going to relate everything to the Bible because that is the moral authority, the moral standard in my life. And I'm not married. And so you ain't got to listen to nothing I say. Only thing I can give you is my perspective from a biblical standpoint and what I've seen throughout other things. But I've never been married. So I can only tell you so much. But from the outside looking in, and based on the biblical evidence, these are issues and things that you should talk about. Now, I applaud the fact that they went to premarital counseling. I think everybody should go to premarital counseling at some point. I think it's very critical because I think you really get to see each other's, what they envision and how they really see how the marriage is going to go, okay? You get to talk about your roles, you get to talk about what you want, what you like, what you don't like, and you get to have a deeper understanding before you get on that altar and say, I do, before you get on that altar and make that commitment and make that covenant with each other. So, again, beautiful young lady, okay? He's a handsome young man. I pray that their marriage is beautiful, but I would hope, and also, she could just be joking. And if she's joking, that's great. But if she's not, I would just say, let's make it clear on what it is that we want out of this marriage. If she really has a problem with you not actively trying to make more money, if she really has a problem with, if you come on a hard times, that she's going to leave you, that's something that you need to address. If she really has a problem with respecting you as a husband, as a man of God, and being the headship, this is a problem that we need to address. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I got for y'all in this video. Tune in to the next video. Like, follow, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.